Well, a part of understanding Genesis is understanding all of the component parts. There's a strange part in Genesis that doesn't fit the flow of things normally. The Tower of Babel. There's one short piece there that is different than it's not the human life template, and it's not the human recovery, healing, self-healing template. However, that story originates in the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish. I'm going to show you the source of the Tower of Babel story, and then we're going to analyze it in the Bible to see what it's really doing. It's metaphorical. Everybody, please understand, I will never, ever entertain the idea that it's historical. Okay? I don't care how many bricks are found in the desert out there. Yeah, they built ziggurats. That doesn't mean they built a Tower of Babel. When you interpret these, there's something very specific in there that is interactive. If you don't do that, then you can carry it or you can deny it. My name is Dan Paulson. Let's find out what is really in there and what is that story about. All right. Now, first of all, if you follow my work, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. You have to be the kind of person that has the brain type that can turn inward and look at oneself, your life, reflection, understand that your life is unfolding because of your experiences, and that if you want your life to change, you must change the way you perceive your experiences. You don't sit and wait and look outward and do something outward. You turn inward with the material. That becomes a more rare thing to do. That's exactly what's going to happen here. We're going to turn inward with the material. Now, the way that these stories work from antiquity, the Tower of Babel, I will tell you very specifically, is going to be, well, you know what? Let me start here instead. Think of your life when you're first an infant. We don't know anything. As we grow and we learn, we go from a happy state, everybody, yay, let's learn life, let's go ahead and gather up things. But as time goes on, life goes bad for us. We learn the wrong things. At some point, you have bad experiences that you haven't processed properly, and they need to be resolved. And so we turn inward and we try to deconstruct what we have learned in order to not continue to experience mentally through perceptions that are not correct perceptions, but we don't know any better. We're caught up in that. So we need to destroy that. In material from antiquity, that can be a number of things. It could be the land that you need to get back. This is my world, my life experience. This is how I view life when I'm with people or when I'm sitting by myself someplace in my own head. What is it? What's going on? You know, is everything fine, or do I have turmoil? Are there things going on? That is all part of a structure, a mental structure. And that could be called a field. That belongs to you. That's where you live. That could be called the earth. That's your earth. That's where you live. And they're all perceptions. It's not really the physical earth. It's your perception of the earth that is how you live on the earth. It is how you experience life on the earth. The earth is going to have to be destroyed. Babel is going to have to be destroyed. Jericho is destroyed. There's a number of elements in here where you've got the destruction of cities, which are going to always metaphorically represent the idea that this structure of belief that I have, I need to destroy it. What I've learned and what I've gathered up in life is a bad thing. Now that I'm older and I get an opportunity to become aware of things and rise above my roots where I came from, that's what I want to do, which means I now have to destroy my early belief system. That is what we're going to be doing, and that's what Babel is. It is not, it's happening in real life. They're building the city, they're Babylonians, they're doing that, but it's done in such a way that if you turn it inward, the Tower of Babel is you. You've destroyed your early self, and now you are rebuilding a new self. Okay, that's how this is going to work, how I'm going to interpret it. I will not interpret it any other way than that, because that is how they're supposed to be interpreted. When you do that, you find out that there is one common teaching globally, one common teaching. And if you're not finding that common teaching, you're not following the material, you're carrying the material. First thing I want to do is read this very quickly, the Tower of Babel right here from the NRSV. I'm just going to read it from there. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions here. We need to ask what's going on here. Now, the whole earth had one language and the same words. Okay, so that sounds like in the beginning everybody was together. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. So this is the entire world. Everybody in the world, right there is what it says, went to the east and came to a plain of Shinar and settled there. And then we want to come and make bricks and burn them thoroughly, and they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to the city and the tower which the mortals built. And the Lord said, look, they are only one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the earth, and they left off. Therefore it was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered abroad all the face of the earth. Okay, so what you have in that story then is basically the idea that everybody was together. There was world peace, unity, presumably, if this is the entire world. Okay, if you're following the Jewish material, that's their claim. So their claiming is that everybody in the world existed right here, that there was world peace, and that they tried to create a tower because they wanted to go visit God, and God, in something that doesn't sound like a monotheism whatsoever, comes down, let us confound their speech, destroy their tower, and confound their speech so that they can't work together anymore. So God went from the opposite of let's work together and let's actually create enemies of one another. That's how that story reads to me, if you don't interpret it. And then people run around going, look, there's the remains of Babylonian works here. That must be a true story. Yeah, it's metaphor. Okay. If I was writing a story today about crossing a river and I went down and I picked a couple of old cement pilings from a bridge that's long gone and I claimed that I crossed that bridge, and somebody later looks and finds those pilings and goes, look, there it is. There's the archaeological evidence of the truth of the story right there. No, it's not. What it is proof that they grabbed something at that time and made their story structured on it. That's exactly what it means. Okay, let's look at the Enuma Elish. All right, before reading it, I will say that it's older than Genesis. It is Babylonian. There are 7 tablets, clay tablets found. They're sometimes called the 7 tablets of creation. The story starts out as things go really bad. It's like in Genesis that starts out everything, there's a creation. However, it goes bad. It gets raucous. There needs to be a destruction. Same way as in Genesis in chapter 6 when God's sons have come down and gone into the beautiful daughters of men and caused problems. Here we've got gods that are bad gods. There you got sons of God that are bad people, and the world needs to be destroyed. All of that goes through. We get to a certain point. Somewhere down into the story, there's going to be, now that we've destroyed our earlier self, it represents me. I came about. This was my earlier self. Now I am the called hero, Marduk, or Noah, or somebody, and it is now time to go inward and to destroy that world, or to destroy whatever that is, and to create something new. You don't just destroy what is there. You must have something in place. What do you want your life to be like? That's what you want in place as opposed to what is in place. So not only are you removing what is there that is not good, which are mental perceptions, but you're replacing them with good perceptions. You're building a new structure to live by so that you feel good. You're not just sitting there going, well, I got rid of everything in the past. Now I don't know what to do. You know, we have to have some kind of confidence and belief and comfort in life to live that way. But we also need purpose, positive purpose. You know, people need to be doing things. You don't want to be sitting around doing nothing all the time. We have to do stuff. You want to do things that are positive, though, instead of the things that are negative. We change our habits. We're really taking who and what we were. If you were to read Don Miguel's The Agreements, we're taking our original agreements, getting rid of them, and making new agreements. We are destroying the old city and creating a new city, destroying the old world and creating a new world. They're all that way. The same template. Look for what's the same. And so that's what we're looking for. And what they're going to be doing here is creating the idea that you are now building a new Babylon. Meanwhile, they're doing it in their culture because society's getting bigger. It's a lot of people. So this is created to help guide them and to help create purpose in the structure too. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? Oh, we're proudly building our new city, our new life, our new Babylon as society goes on. It's going to collapse, but for a time, that's what's going on. And the story then, the structure of building a new tower is really that, building a new inner self. Okay, what I'm going to do now is bring up the Enuma Elish, one part of it here, and we'll read it and see this is the source of the Tower of Babel right here. All right, Starts at tablet 1. I'm using the Timothy J. Stephanie translation, if you're curious. Right here at tablet 1, you can see in the beginning is when creation starts. You can see here at the beginning we have creation, at a time when even the glories above had yet to be named. And unuttered was the word for the world which lay beneath. It was then that the first being Apsu, who was their source, and the progenitor Tiamat, the mother who gave birth to all, intermingled their waters, producing neither field nor marsh. At a time when no divine beings had yet come into existence, there were no names to be spoken and no fates pronounced. No names to be spoken and no fates pronounced. If you follow my work, that should sound like something from Lao Tzu. I had not yet named anything, and as a result, I was with free from desire. I realized the mystery. No fates pronounced. But the gods were given birth within those intermixing waves. The first were Lamu and Lahamu. That correlates to Adam and Eve. That is us in a male and female version right there. And once they had become fully grown and become a mature form, they were born Anshar and Kishar. We're going to see this advancement as we go, like from Abram to Abraham and Sarai to Sarah. We're going to see an advancement in the names. That we're going to see that process continue on. Okay, having said that, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit brick. I'm going to type brick in and look for it. And what do you know? Brick is said exactly 3 times. That's important to me in my work. Down here, though, where I am, is I'm down here into tablet 6 is where this is happening. We're constructing a new place. Look, there'll be some familiar numbers in here for some of you. All right, here it goes. You should recognize some of these numbers if you follow my work from Jewish works. Yeah, Jews are using the same stuff. King Marduk then caused the gods to be separated into 2. Each of the Anunnaki was to be assigned above or beneath, and he spoke a pronouncement that the Anu be the guardian, and designated 300 gods to guard the heavens. Then did just the same in his declaration concerning earth, so that the entire 600 resided on earth or heaven. I'm going to stop for a second and talk about the Anunnaki. What the Anunnaki are is our qualities, whatever your sense of balance or your fairness, trust, all of those things. There's a certain set of qualities. The disciples would hold those as well. What's your sense of balance, your fairness, your lack of trust? Sometimes your fearful side, the doubtful, all of those. The Anunnaki are that. The Anunnaki you're going to see through, if you went through there, you would see, well, the Anunnakis kind of floated around on what they are. Are they good guys or are they bad guys? They're the qualities that go bad. So they start off good, then they become corrupt because life goes on. But that's because I once had trust and now I lost the trust. But after forgiveness, I can get trust back. That's the Anunnaki shifting good to bad. Metaphoric representations. These are not physical. They play out in the psyche. What the hell are they? Yeah, there's something in there. The only way they work is to be that. It would be the same as the disciples, or if you were Greek myth, the Argonautica, you're gathering up all the Argonauts before you go. These are all very specific, your qualities that you really need for your life. And different people, they're taking some artistic liberties with their work, but okay. Does that make sense? Let's move on here. It's a lot deeper than what we think. It really is. This is very deep psychology. Okay, so Marduk does represent your new self, the one that says, nope, that's it. I am in charge now. I'm not giving in to that old self anymore. That's it. I've taken over. That's Marduk. That's you, if you take the trip. Then after he had finished making all of his declarations, having made the Anunnaki reside in either heaven or earth, is telling everything inside of you where they belong, physical or mental. The Anunnaki raised their voices to Lord Marduk, saying, since you have now liberated us from our work, O Lord, what manner of kindness might you now bestow unto us? He's saying, now that you've gotten, what do you want us to do now? For we would like to construct a temple of great distinction. Here we go. To have our sleeping quarters alongside yours so as to rest. Thus, permit us to build a temple where we might find shelter, so that whenever we gather to you, we might lounge there. Once Marduk heard their words, his face shone like sunlight. Then build Babylon to be the construction project you seek. Have there be mud bricks cast, and construct a lofty temple. Thus, permit us to build a temple where we might find shelter, so that whenever we gather to you, we might lounge there." Once Marduk heard their words, his face shone like sunlight. "Then build Babylon to be the construction project you seek. Have there be mud bricks cast, and construct a lofty temple." Thus the Anunnaki excavated, making bricks for a full year, and when the following year came, they had erected it high, rising aloft the peaks of Asagila. That means lofty temple, which was nearby the Apsu. Remember, Apsu was in the beginning. Apsu was the creator of all, the source of all, the Tao. Everything comes from there. Everything comes from the Apsu. They had constructed a lofty ziggurat fit for the Apsu. The source we want to be new. We're going to get rid of what there was, and we're going to create new from the same source. There was also built places of residence for Anu, Elil, and Ea, highest among any edifice. It was established before them, where its towers gazed down upon the foundations of Ashara, after they had completed their work on the temple, the lofty temple. Okay, so right there is the source of the Tower of Babel, right there. That was what it was. So what do? We come along later and say, oh, and there was something in there. Did you see there was a point where it sounded like something repeated? All right, we're going to see that in Genesis, and not in the original work, but in the first creation story that's added in. That technique is going to come in, and God, wanted, and God said, and so there was, and God said, and so there was, and God said, and so there was. And there's that repeating going on. This is a calling it into play in an older, more primitive way. They just repeat something twice, and that's saying it really is. Yeah, it's like calling it in. That happens a couple of times. If you were to read through this and you're not familiar with it, you look for the cyclical pain. Lady Huber actually creates destruction, and then it repeats the destruction. I've heard some people read it and see comments posted, "Did you make a mistake and double up on something?" That's actually how they're showing the cyclical pain. We'll just repeat this destructive part twice, and that's how it was done. So, all right, what we have there then is the idea that what is it that in my Father's house are many mansions? If there were not, I would not have told you so. This all represents the mental structure and the mind. If we were to now go back to Genesis again and take another look at the Genesis version, let's take a closer look and see, after reading this now, what we can glean from that. Okay, this time I'm going to read through, but I'm going to interpret as I go in the manner that I would interpret it. Of course, this is my theory, but it always pans out. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. That's us. That's the earth. That is us in our young, pure state. Our entire existence had one belief. We had one way we felt, one way we acted, one way we lived life pure. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. We came from the east. When Adam and Eve were sent from the garden, there was guards set up on the east. This is coming back from the east. This shows coming from a pure place. That gets a little thick. The east is always going to be represented in the stories as something that is something different than direction. It means something very specific. It comes from a good place. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had bricks for stone and bitumen for mortar. So there we have our reference to the bricks that were being made in the Babylonian story. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." Okay, now we got to extract ourselves from the Babylonian story and say, this is us. We are growing up. We're building bricks. We're making a city. Let me try something different here. Lao Tzu, we build a wheel using spokes, but it's the hub that gives us its purpose. We build a clay pot, but it's the inside that gives it its value. We are these things as we're living life. We are building the wheel, but whatever is inside the wheel depends on how that wheel turns. We are the clay pot. Throughout life, we build it, but what is inside the clay pot throughout life is what gives it its life. That's a version of what is happening here. They said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth." So that's just us living life and building ourselves, learning our life experiences. And the Lord came down to see the city. That really isn't what happened. Life experience came down. The Lord blesses those who bless you and curses those who curse you. So we got either way coming. What happened is that this city there really isn't a God out there making that happen. This is what happens because we're not paying attention. The God that we operate with is in our mind, and we're not connected with God. We don't talk to that God. We talk to an imaginary God out in space instead of connecting with God in the mind, like they tell us to. We don't enter the narrow gate. That needs to be done. People carry it. They don't look inside of it. Anyway, it's thick to unwrap. So we have to dismiss ourselves from the idea that this is a being up there that's making arbitrary decisions on whether or not they should curse you or not, and what kind of life you should have. That's what happens based on our life experiences. If you have a bad thing happen, it's going to create bad in your life. If you have a good thing happen, it's going to create good in your life. That is what is happening here. So in the beginning, we're all together, but what happens? Come, let us go down and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech. This is us going along at some point going, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why. I am no longer internally married. I am now in conflict. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there all over the face of the earth. So they left off building the city. So we stopped our purity. We stopped looking for the purity, and we're now living life just like unaware people. Therefore it was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the earth. Here's how you find whether or not that's there. Go sit quietly by yourself someplace and catch yourself. What's your mind doing? Is it Babel? Or is it like, is there something there? That would be the scattering that wasn't there in the beginning. At the same time, the Jews are dismissing themselves from the Babylonian works. These guys did something bad, and look, there's the ziggurats to boot. So the whole story looks like what it is a morphing of religion that is still maintaining a very tight template in the background. So even on the outside, it looks like, is there something nefarious going on? It's like, no, there's something that needs to happen in a population that's going on, and it's very old. It fit for their life, and it was very important for them to live it in a different way. We just kind of worship it, look at it from a distance. The Tower of Babel is us. In the same way that the world starts out pure and it gets raucous and it needs to be destroyed, the Tower of Babel starts out with everything is pure, it gets bad, and it needs to be destroyed. Or is it really? Does it get bad? It just tries to achieve someplace high. That really doesn't mean we're trying to achieve a place high. What that means is we are living life, just experiencing life blindly and accumulating things, and that's what makes us scattered. That's really what it is. Okay, that's the Tower of Babel interactive. I saw a video on how the Tower of Babel must have been some kind of a portal for, it's like, oh my God. The world is full of really just the wildest thinking. People are fantasy heads. Yeah. Anyway, okay. This is going to be part of the Genesis process. So I went ahead and just covered it here anyway, because it is a unique piece between creation all the way up to the end to chapter 6, where the destruction has to happen, is a human life cycle. Then there starts the called hero cycle, where Noah must get the boat, all that kind of stuff. The world is flooded out. We're naked again and unashamed, uncovered, feeling good off of life experiences on the other side. We just put new wine into a new wineskin, honestly, right there. That's why it was a good thing. That naked and unashamed and being drunk was okay. That's what that represented. We get covered up again. And then later we're going to pick up where it really starts off with Abram and Sarai, where that cycle starts. But right somewhere in the middle of it is the Babel, this little short piece that's like, that doesn't fit with either of the templates. What it does is it still follows the exact pattern, If you look at it, we're Babel. It's metaphoric, just like we're the earth that needs to be destroyed. And I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, yeah, if you treat it that way, it's metaphoric. If not, yeah, you can chase fun things. But, at some point you have to ask yourself what sounds realistic as far as, giants of old and Anunnaki and gods ruling the earth and getting raucous and having to be destroyed and all that kind of stuff, and floods happening and God saying, you guys are working together. I don't like it. Let me smash it apart. At some point you got to go, okay, wait a minute. This doesn't really make sense. It doesn't sound good to me. But if you interpret it, suddenly it's like, okay, all right, I see what's going on. This is about me. It's about my life and it's about my healing. They're keeping a teaching on a template for the masses. And the template is for those who look inside. Okay, hope this was fun and interesting and helpful. See you in the next video.